Explain to us more. I mean, I was very interested when you said that it was from almost 5 to 20,000 gallons per acre on this algae production. Explain a little bit more to me, if you can, the process, how that works, and probably the most important thing, how do we get there quickly?
The easiest way to think about algae or any single-cell organism is it can only do one thing at a time. So algae just divides. Its sole focus is to keep dividing to maintain life. It's not wasting any energy making roots or leaves or growing vertical, creating high-density cellulose, which the cellulosic people need to remove. So all it does is grow. It can take a much, much higher percentage of the photons, the energy from the sun, than any traditional land-based crop. And so all earlier calculations done by NREL and by others show that there is a solid theoretical basis that says if you just take sunlight, you shoot it onto things that all they do is divide, you'll get so much biomass with so much lipids. The problem has been traditionally that because they can only do one thing, they either divide and you get lots of green stuff, or they make oil and they don't divide very well. And so companies like Targeted Growth, us and others, have said, well, how do we crack this fundamental problem? And the way you do that is you put in what are called inducible promoters. You tell the thing, okay, in the beginning of your life, just divide. And then when you have a high enough density in an outdoor, probably, facility, please change. And then spend the rest of your life just making oil. And then we can process you. The problem is, this is pretty complicated. This is a multi-gene system. I've got a dozen molecular biologists who do nothing but try to figure this out. And my big fear is that because there's one thing I can guarantee, which is that 15 years from now, it will be an algae that is the biofuel that everybody is using. Its inherent advantages are just too great. The problem is there's no guarantee that's going to be a U.S.-based solution. There's a lot of good work going on in Asia, some pretty good work going on in Europe, and this can be a game changer, whether it's us or somebody else or a combination of companies. One of my big fears is the investments made abroad are so much greater than the investments made here, that if somebody really cracks the nut, they're going to have extraordinarily valuable technology for a generation. It becomes an operating system. It becomes the next Microsoft. Because once you've figured out how to do it, it's deployable everywhere.
So how far away are we?
You think
it's going to take 15 years?
Yeah, well, no. Well, it depends what you mean by how far away. We can do it in a really cool-looking flask right now. Come out, you're welcome to visit our labs. Nobody else has been able to do it in a cool-looking flask, so, that's exciting. There are certainly companies that are trying to produce algae right now, and with some limited success, I think the first-generation algae fuels are almost ready. But the game changer is being able to do what I'm suggesting. We have a letter of intent from a major utility. We'll likely try to do a 20 or 25 acre trial with them over the next year to 18 months. There are others that are trying things of about that scale. But this involves biotechnology, so this is genetically engineered, and there's no point in avoiding the question because these pathways are so complicated, we need to put them in. And so depending on legislative issues, Food and Drug Administration and government oversight, we'll have a marketable, useful product in 5-6 years, realistically, and then if it works, the expansion rates are exponential, just like algae itself.
So the long term is that it's almost like, I guess, growing up in the mountains of North Carolina, when the first cars were produced and the first person who had a car, fuel was pretty easy because they had moonshine. I mean, they actually produced ethanol.
Absolutely.
And that was part of the whole process, that you could actually produce it at home. So could a mini farm produce enough with this algae production to be able to almost have a standalone fuel station, if you will, if this becomes a process?
You certainly could. I mean, I think there'll be huge rural implications. Like all things, there is efficiency with scale. So I think realistically, the first generation of these are likely to be co-located with utilities or CO2 sources so that you can do them on tens of thousands of acres. But even second generation algae, which is actually much easier to do because we can produce a new strain of algae in 4.5 hours, it is quite realistic to see a solution where the alkanes, the actual molecule, the actual almost ASTM spec, you can simply create right there in a pond. So is it unrealistic to assume that 10 years from now, a farmer could take an acre of their land, grow material like ours, have it excrete number 2 diesel, and use that farmer to power vehicles? I think that's quite likely. I think it's probabilistically where this thing ends up, yeah.